Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Packer Universe podcast, aka the Pup List. We're a Green Bay Packers fan podcast that brings you tropical. I was going to say tropical because it's so warm out
Tropical.
today, Ren.
It was
It's
tropical in Green Bay at the draft day. No,
it was
rewind the tape.
but yeah, we're a Green Bay Packers fan podcast that brings you topical and relevant Packers news along with our most humble subjective opinions. This is episode 312. We're recording this on a Monday, April 28th, 2025. The NFL draft has just concluded in Green Bay, Wisconsin. What a trip. We'll be going through who the Packers selected and give our grades and feedback and reactions to all of those. And of course, report on our personal experiences attending the draft ourselves. All that and more. Reminder, this is a video podcast. So if you're listening to this on podcast only, the audio version, head over to YouTube and you can see Ren, you can see me, you can see all my fantastic graphics, and just kind of like join us in the vibe. I'm your host, Tay, and joining me on the right there is our one and only
Ren, what up, Tay? How you doing? Have you finally recovered from all the theater we experienced in the theater, and we even missed a little bit on Saturday? That might have been worth it, but you bailed on me. How we doing on a Monday night? Happy Mondays to you, Tay.
Thanks, Ren. Yeah, I'm doing great. I have recovered. I'm still kind of living back there. I can picture myself in the draft theater with you, just sitting there watching all the screens and all the lights and the constant entertainment that was provided by the NFL. But just want to say that it was truly an awesome experience to go and see this thing firsthand, especially in our own town here, Green Bay, the Packers' hometown in Titletown. It was phenomenal. The Green Bay Packers and the city of Green Bay did an excellent job. So props to you. I thought it was a fantastic outing. It was a huge success. I'm so glad we went. It's truly one of those memories that I will hold and cherish for a long, long time. I loved it. I have video of kind of certain points in the night, and I watched that, especially like the first pick, number 23, when Mark Murphy gets up there. I mean, listening to that again, it just kind of gives you goosebumps. Totally love that. But that was just a pinpoint of our experience there. It was all positive. It was all great. They knocked it out of the park. So congratulations, the Packers. Congratulations to Green Bay, the city proper, and everyone involved. Everyone came out for this. Everyone showed their support. They nailed it. This was a super success, and I'm proud of us.
As you should be, Tay. I mean, super proud of the Green Bay Packers, the city of Green Bay. This thing went off without a hitch, Tay. I think there was one arrest they posted throughout the entire 3-day piece, Tay. It seemed like even the national media, from Kay Adams to Pat McAfee and everybody that was in town, had nothing but rave reviews to say about, just the hospitality, the whole vibe in Green Bay. You have the draft, the backdrop of Lambeau from the draft theater. A lot of these other places the draft's been held in recent years, they have to hold it in downtowns or the areas. We get to showcase Lambeau. It was incredible. And then again, I want to just call it theater in the theater. The moment you and I are there, and when Mark, who obviously was the architect of Titletown, brought the draft here, 10 years in the making, obviously oversaw the Rodgers change to Love, was here for an NFL championship, obviously in 2010. Kudos to Mark, but when he comes out and he plays the crowd so well, well that like you hear rumors after the fact, like, did he have the right name? And you see the video behind the scenes. He's like, a receiver. He's talking. If you've seen the video at Packers.com, he's talking to Goodell before they come out, and he sees it. He's like, a receiver. He's all excited. But the fact that we're in this theater with 200,000 people, you and I, and he talks about the 13-time world champion Green Bay Packers, and he goes, for the first time since 2002, then the Green Bay Packers take a receiver, and he just still holds, just gamesmanship and plays it. And then we get Matthew Golden, and it just the crowd goes nuts. Obviously, Matthew Golden's in the green room. He gets to walk out amongst all of us there night one. I think there were fireworks right after the pick, Tay. It was incredible. What an experience, honestly. Just that pick alone, Tay. It doesn't matter how good or how bad we'll look back at the 2025 draft class. Just that pick alone rose this thing to another level just with the moment that Green Bay had, he had, we all had collectively. It was incredible. And then you and I missed the Saturday moment with Baron Sorrell. We've all seen all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the fact that he wanted to be in Green Bay just because he wanted the draft experience, according to Goody, they don't even know he's here, and they draft him. And he comes out in that draft theater complex Saturday afternoon, day 3 is as full as it was on night 1, first round of the draft. And he comes out, meets the fans, and then goes to the center stage where the national anthem was done. By the way, that was a great national anthem. I loved it with the guitar and the helicopter flyover. That was incredible in and of itself. But him doing that, and getting the Go Pack Go chants was what a weekend. It was just a highlight of Green Bay and the whole experience. And I'm so glad 600,000 plus people, Tay, took this thing in over the 3 days in Green Bay. Second highest ever. Yes, Detroit, you might win that, but guess what? You don't have your stadium in the background. The viewership for day 2, the cold, wet night, was up 40% from last year in Detroit. So we'll just hit them with that, Tay. But Green Bay, had the weather been perfect, I think we give them more than a run for their money, Tay, because it was incredible. They expected 250,000 people, Tay. We got over 600, and the weather was pretty hit and miss.
Yeah, pretty crappy. Friday.
Just give it up to the city of Green Bay. It was so well organized. You and I, we drove up there and back. It was much easier than going to a game. I never felt enclosed like we were in some trap thing. They moved people in and out of there so well. It was just, it went off without a hitch. Just fantastic by everybody involved. What a moment. Memories with you. Just great memories for the entire city. We thought this might be the last time, but I don't know, Tay. I think the city of Green Bay showed the NFL that we can do this. And I think most of again, going back to it, talking in circles, the national media, I think, really loved and had a good time in Green Bay.
I totally agree. I think you're right. And I think a lot of that has to do with the history and the heritage of the Green Bay Packers in the NFL. Just that alone, I think, just has this clout, has this foundation that you build up every national televised game at Lambeau. All the announcers start with that. Like they always go through that, and it's great. I mean, everybody knows, and I think a lot of that has to do with the success that we had here. But you said it before. But I think they're saying now we're tying Nashville last year.
I'd seen it was over Nashville. I have to say
because I don't know if they're giving exact numbers. They're saying over 600,000.
Over 600,000. They don't have the final numbers, but it was over 600 in front of Nashville. Yeah,
and that and that to me is nuts. We could spend 5 minutes on what those numbers mean. I mean, you and I went there multiple times. Are we counted, once for each of that, or was it one unique person being counted? I don't know how that works. I think they add them all up at the end of the day, even in Detroit. So whatever. But if you're going by percentages of population of the city, obviously we dominated Detroit. So you could slice it up however you want. But this was a success with how many people attended and how many people loved this. I think one of the other things I wanted to mention was viewership was up 11% on the first day from last year's. I think it was 13.6 million people versus last year 12.3 million. So even folks at home that couldn't make the trip to Green Bay, they're watching and they're taking this into. So huge success. And you're right. I don't know if this is the last time they're gonna have it. I was dead set on this was it. This is our only chance. We're not gonna make it good enough for them, right? And that's clearly wrong. I can't wait till it comes back here because now I'm feeling like it will be. And maybe that's 10 years from now. They'll do the rounds and stuff and we'll see where else they go. But I'm kind of excited that I think it might be back. We might have more stuff to do, more people, more places to put people, more amenities, all that stuff. So it could only really go up from there, Ryan.
And I tell you, Tay, I mean, even the like, they've got the stage essentially built on Oneida Street, and they build that nice, beautiful, long lit hallway with the draft picks walking up through the Resch Center, mind you. So they got this long tunnel they built to connect the two.
Yeah.
It looked great. It looked great on screen. We got to see it live, essentially on the big screens out in front of us in the draft theater. But yeah, it's just incredible vibes. I mean, we get up there Thursday early. The weather starts to change. It gets cloudy, but we have great experiences in the parking lot. We meet Jeff Halfley, or at least I did. One of the two of us was, brave enough to go, hang out with Jeff for a brief moment. The following day, we get Thomas, Lucas, and Josh,
Yeah.
a couple guys from Bakersfield, California, and Seattle come out, hang out with us. Just good vibes. People, I don't know. Suddenly we're just all friends, like hanging out for, what do we hang out with them for 35, 45 minutes to an hour?
Yeah.
We didn't know those guys before that. And it was just a bit of Green Bay, everybody together. Those are the moments you could have. Our friend Rob Domovsky finding us night one in the middle of that draft theater crowd that we get to share a moment with Rob too. I mean, that's just really cool. And that's how special, not to keep talking about it, but how special the whole atmosphere was for us. And I think so many out there over the last weekend and days in Green Bay with the draft. It was just phenomenal today. I can't say more about it.
Yeah. One thing I'll touch on is like I think people in the community kind of maybe overthought maybe some of this logistic stuff. There was no traffic. It was really easy to get in and out. I think the parking situation freaked everybody out, so everyone was charging more and expecting all this stuff. But by day two, everything was slashed in half, basically, all around the stadium. You could pretty much park wherever you wanted. I don't know how that's possible with how many people are there, but it just was. And
Yep.
so I think the freak out over the logistics of this all in Green Bay is now tempered, and it's like we can handle this.
Totally overblown.
Yeah,
Today. I didn't see
yeah,
any pressure. Like, this was a big thing. Apparently, hotel rooms, a lot of them were still available based on the
yeah,
overcharging, so that's on them. But
yeah.
there are plenty of places to stay. You didn't have to stay as far as our guys, the aforementioned Thomas, Lucas, and Josh out in Chilton, Wisconsin, on what they showed us as their essential nightmare farm that they're walking into with just crazy animals everywhere, and they're out in the middle of the country. They certainly got the Wisco experience, no doubt. But yeah, I think the over exaggerated inability for Northeast Wisconsin and Green Bay to handle the influx of people is just overblown. Whatever they're doing with gauging how it can go from parking and housing standpoint, they're way out of line, I gotta say. Because it was easy.
Yeah, and to say that this was going to be worse than a game day, it wasn't. I don't know how this was better than a game day.
Easy, and we left at prime times both times.
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
smooth sailing, and that was Thursday and Friday.
So you gotta love that because it indicates maybe that there isn't such a big problem in Green Bay for big events like this, and that we can handle it. So I love the thought about that. Ren, let's move on to the actual meat and potatoes of what happened.
Yeah, does it really matter at this point? It was so great. I mean, these guys could all be, the 2019 or 2021 draft when we have nobody left from it. But it doesn't matter because I think the overarching thing is it was a damn good time. So let's have fun talking about it.
So let me just recap factually what happened here. We had 8 picks going into the draft. We kept all of them. There was no movement. We basically selected as we knew going into the draft. All 8 picks, rounds 1 through 7, no movement. I think maybe Brian said that he was trying to do some stuff, it just wasn't working out. So I think he was happy with just sitting there. If what he wanted in a trade, wasn't going to come through for the Green Bay Packers, I think he was fine with that, which is it's just fine with me. I love that he sat and said, okay, no, we're going to let the board work its magic here, and we're going to take the next player that we want. But I'll run down quick. Round 1 was obviously Matthew Golden, wide receiver. Round 2, we got a tackle in Anthony Belton. Round 3, Thavion Williams, another wide receiver. That was rounds 2 and 3 on Friday night. And then Saturday, the first pick was Baron Sorrell, like you mentioned before. That was round 4. Round 5, edge again, Colin Oliver. Wow, that's debatable edge, but a linebacker nonetheless. Round 6, a defensive lineman, Warren Brinson, and then 2 7th-round picks to round out the draft. Cornerback, Micah Robinson, and then offensive line, John Williams, not the orchestral, music writer of the infamous Star Wars and Indiana Jones and everything like that.
Why'd you take that from me? Why'd you have to take that from me, Tay? That was mine.
Wait, it's not him? It's
not the composer, Tay. It's not him. Nope.
Well, I hope he's not as old as John Williams, the composer, because I think we need John Williams, the offensive lineman, sooner than that. But those were the 8 picks, Ren. I guess I'll just kind of say my little pieces here on them, generally speaking. I think these all are Packer types. I guess you want me to stop? Is that what this? Right?
You're crackling hard, son.
Oh, crackling. Maybe I should not be as excited about this. I should be. All right. Well, I'll start over here. I guess I didn't expect the Packers to pick in this order. I expected them to pick these positions. Yeah.
You're gonna need to mark it, dude. It sounds awful. It's like you are in and out. I'm hearing like parts of words, not other parts. It just happened as you transitioned to this point.
Well, I'll. Can you hear me now? Is it good?
Yeah, it sounds good, actually. Yep.
All right. Well, I'll start over, but. All right. I'll chop that up. All right, Ren. Well, I will just offer my quick opinions, generally speaking, on this draft. I think all these Packer guys are Packer types. I loved all these picks. I didn't really have any problem with it. The only thing I kind of was like, oh, what's happening here is I didn't think that they picked the positions in order that I wanted them to. So after day 2, I was like, I loved that they double dipped on the wide receiver. I loved it. I liked that they picked 2 offensive linemen. I just didn't think that was going to happen then. Round 2, offensive linemen right away, when there was plenty of cornerbacks that I thought could go off the board for us, and we thought that. So I guess it's the order that happened, the guys that were available at those times. I'm like, oh, why didn't we go after that guy, And hindsight will be 2020 here. We'll come back and we'll say, well, I'm glad, we didn't grab those CBs that we had. And I guess that leads into my other point, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I think that this kind of tells Packer fans kind of what the mindset of Brian Gutekunst is in terms of what they have on the roster already. This you load up on positions in the draft here. We've picked wide receivers and edge to kind of maybe push those positions forward, where you didn't go D-tackle heavy, you didn't go cornerback heavy. So does that mean that you're okay with what you have? And that's a question that we won't know the answer to, but you can kind of guess on. And the offensive lineman, you got a couple of those guys. One's high, one's low. And you wonder, okay, does that mean they're just bolstering that position? One immediately and one maybe is a project, or is no, we've always done this. with the offensive line and bolstered them through the draft. So this is nothing new. But we'll get into it. But I think I'm wondering if this indicates what the Packers are thinking based on what they drafted and when. But I think generally speaking, that's my take on the draft class. I love it. I think they did an awesome job. A lot of these positions we needed, and I'm excited about the wide receiver group. I'm also really excited about that edge group. We'll see if some of those edge players shift to the middle. Who knows what's going to happen with them? We'll kind of see what shakes out in training camp. But Ren, give me your feelings, your overview on kind of like what this whole draft class meant to the Green Bay Packers and what you're thinking about it.
I mean, going back to the theater, Tay. I mean, the two Texas boys, Matthew Golden and Baron Sorrell. I mean, you couldn't ask for better theater. Hang 'em horns. I guess we're all Texas Longhorn fans now. I mean, Matthew Golden. We had heard there was rumors that, and it was allegedly talked about by Goody. That they were receiving offers to come up, and people wanted 23. One of those teams rumored was Philly, and maybe Philly wanted Matthew Golden instead of Jihad Campbell, who they got at 31, who still think it was a heck of a steal for them. But they didn't necessarily feel great about, the match per where they had him rated. And honestly, when other people brought it up, what you looked at from some of the other prospects that come off the board 23 and later, you got a lot of second round grade guys coming off. So no, the last of the true, hit a home run kind of guys left on the board was, for the first time since 2002, Matthew Golden, wide receiver, Texas, Tay. And, exciting player, a little undersized. We like some Jaden Higgins, 5'11", but guy can play anywhere, 4.29 speed, just great hands, solid route runner. He can kick return. He's open to it. Just an exciting pick. He basically made the draft for us. Like I said today, that just kind of set off the whole rest of the weekend. It was amazing. The draft really kind of, when you look at the players, it's really a juice draft, Tay. A lot of, we talked about Brian said he doesn't look at RAS scores, but guess what, Tay? They ended up all being high RAS score guys. Some of them with NA RASs, but would be high RAS guys like Golden and Savion Williams both don't have RAS scores because they didn't do the full testing. But the rest of the guys have incredible RAS scores, and they fit in the bunch. So you got this juice along with this new kind of version where they want to be bigger in areas, Tay, and that obviously goes to the O-line, going back to, free agency with Aaron Banks, and you bring in just a massive mountain of a man they call the Big Escalade, and Anthony Belton, Tay. Speaking of his RAS, a 7.72 RAS, a lot of people think that, he should have been drafted in the third, fourth, or fifth round, but he was a guy mentioned by many that was moving up the boards late. He's just huge, Tay, 6'6", 336, and that's at his lightest. I mean, he's been playing heavier there, but he's extremely physical. He's got great bend, can actually play legitimate right-left tackle. And when you can add a right-left tackle prospect to a line that was maybe only, as many have said, 6 deep, now you're 7. And then you talk about, I guess I'll just hit him now, the non-composer John Williams out of Cincinnati, Tay, an offensive tackle, a 907 RAS. He excelled at left tackle, Tay. He can also play guard, and he's a good pass pro guy. So now you're now 7, now you're 8, and that going into next year, Sean Ryan, Zach Tom, and Rasheed Walker are all free agents. We know Zach Tom's not leaving the building, Tay. They're not going to let that happen. But the other two, good chance, because listen, when you're paying Jordan Love the money you already are now, and you're going to go pay Zach Tom's kind of money like that, you have decisions to make, and you want to have fallback plans that make a hell of a lot of sense. And guess what? In another year, Anthony Belton and then a guy off the bench like John Williams make a ton of sense, and you need it, and you're in a much better position when many have talked about a lot of O-lines in the NFL go 3-4 deep, not even full 5, and where the Packers set themselves up, and you want to protect your franchise. I mean, it's incredible, and you can't really fault what they're trying to do there. from an offensive line build, especially given the short term with some other guys, and getting physical, getting big, getting powerful. Something they've been not so great at, and certainly not as physical as a lot of these power teams in the NFL. And I think it'll pay dividends, especially when you look at the power run game that the current version of the Packers run. So,
Yeah, I love these two offensive line picks. These guys are big, big guys. They, have proven that they can be good pass blockers, which is awesome because maybe that's the direction you're trying to go in. I mean, yeah, you proved it last year that you can be a run team, and that's great. But having two big guys, I'm sure they're going to be just fine run blocking as well, being able to bulldoze you. But I love that these guys are pass blockers, and I love the piece that you said about being prepared for what's coming down in the next couple of years. You need to have those guys lined up for the future. And these two guys, to me, on paper, after the draft, looks amazing and looks perfect for what we want to do. Round 3, Ren. This is the guy. This is the type of receiver I wanted. And Ren's flopping his phone. Round 1, there was, I think, Jaden Higgins who went, I think, second overall in round two.
Yep.
His type, that's what I wanted in a wide receiver. Big, tall. And after Jaden Higgins went off the board, I was kind of like, all right, because at the time when even Matthew Golden was, was drafted by us, I was still thinking these guys are these guys on the Packers right now are very similar. They're either smaller and they're agile, maybe some possession receivers with some speed. We don't have that big body, that big target to go up and take jump balls and to for Jordan Love to just pray that our receiver's going to get it. I think the last guy we had for that role was Devontae Adams. You could especially throw him on the back shoulder and he was going to catch it. Obviously we had Aaron Rodgers too, and they were both on the same page, but that combo and that kind of confidence in your receiver was amazing. I think a guy like this, he's 6'4", 222. He can be that guy, and I love that type. We didn't have that type coming into this draft, and I'm so glad we got one. So Savion Williams, I love this pick. This was day 2, round 3. What do you got to say about Savion?
Savion's a really interesting one, Tay. When we talk about the juice draft, I mean, he's the juice draft, just like Golden. 4.48 speed, Tay. You mentioned 6'4", though, 222. He's played quarterback most of his life, and obviously played wide receiver at TCU, but last year he played 84 snaps at running back or the Wildcat. So he can pretty much play anywhere, Tay. He can play inside, outside. He runs as a halfback, drop him back, not just in the Wildcat, but running the ball, but he can throw the football, Tay. He gets out in field and makes amazing plays. Just has his burst and physicality along with the juice. That's incredible. Inside the 20s, he is a touchdown machine. He muddies the water a little bit with the room when we look at Jay Reed, Mecole Hardman, and now him. They've got all these gadget guys. He's the ultimate chess piece that you add just to muddy the offensive room. Where are we going with the football and who are we designing plays for? That's a little bit of my concern, but also like your love for a guy like Savion Williams is that he can do all these crazy things, but will they overthink it and not get it right? That's always the interesting part about a talent like that. Or will he just develop to be, the occasional, interesting play, but hey, within the 20s, let me cook, let me be a little Deebo Samuel at times, let me be a little bit, what was the other comparison? The former Viking, as well, the kick returner that I'm at a loss of words for. But those were his two main comps, Tay, when you're talking about what he can do as this crazy physical, large athlete. That certainly gives him a lot of wrinkles. And hey, anytime you add more wrinkles to your offense, the NFL, as people pointed out, really has gotten to be a down and distance game where there's a lot of 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. And you just need guys that can get first downs. And when you add a talent like this into the room, along with Matthew Golden, the Green Bay Packers are in such a better spot to move the sticks and do things that keep teams off balance. That, again, that's why at the moment you have to look at Savion and be like, that's a really exciting football player, an exciting pick for the Packers.
And, again, with some of these picks this year, they picked 2 wide receivers. And I think what I was trying to compare it to was the offensive line. They picked 2 wide
Bingo.
receivers. So it's like you're kind of future proofing yourself because you got 2 fifth-year options to decide on. You have 2 injured starting wide receivers. You're probably number 1 and number 2 that you don't know about with question marks hanging over their heads. And the kind of drops with Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks last year wasn't the best performance. So now you have okay, you're pushing the guys that are here now, and you're also future proofing it if some of those guys have to go or get traded or continue to fall off. So you've done yourself a good service by drafting these 2 guys, different style of players, but definitely complements each other when you want to do a diverse offense with trick plays, going deep, whatever you want to do. I think these guys fit in nicely. I love these 2 picks.
Yeah, I agree, Tan. And you're right. I mean, obviously, when I was referring to Sean Ryan, Zach Tom, and Rasheed Walker before, and we're talking about, obviously Anthony Belton, Jonathan Williams. I mean, yeah, next year it's not just that. I mean, it's Dobbs, Watson, Wicks, and Malik Heath. They're all free agents today.
Yeah.
So you brought yourself in 2 dynamic players that you insert with Jaden Reed, who we know will be there. And whatever happens with the rest of the guys, you're going to have to figure 1 or 2 of them out. But the reality is the others are going to be gone. And now you've had some time under your belt. You keep it moving. Keep her moving, as they'd say today. We know that our guy Charlie was in town, and they did both of those things with the offensive line and the wide receiving core, when both are probably their biggest 2 concerned position groups coming into free agency in 2026. So, yeah, hit it out of the park, give themselves some breathing room and some super talent that you can develop along both of those position groups.
And I guess this is the last thing to kind of round off. This was the kind of, we're done with the offense now, right? Like you look at the positions on offense that we needed help with, bolstering: wide receiver, offensive line. We're done with that. Quarterback, running back, tight end. Those are all fine. We don't have any.
Well, you kind of
issues.
added a running back there too, Tay. So you added juice to Josh Jacobs. We get Marshawn Lloyd back and get him healthy, and we expect. He was one of my favorite picks last year. Big things out of that kid. And then you add Savion Williams as a member of that group, as well as the wide receiver group. I mean, I think they're cooking with gas at all those positions on offense.
Let's move over to the defense, because in round 3, on day 3, no, not God, I'm getting that screwed up. Round 4, day 3, the sun came out, Ren, and we have a youngster called Baron Sorrell, and he was in the green room. He was the last one in there. Like you said before, he wanted to come to Green Bay to be here, and none of the front office knew he was even here in Green Bay on day 3, but they picked him anyway, and that was the opportunity for Roger Goodell to do an awesome thing. He actually came out
in his khakis,
in his kind of like cash wear, got onto stage, and he does not normally announce anything on day 3 on Saturday, but he came out and he said as much. This person is here, and the Packers drafted him, and it was Baron Sorrell, and he got to come out and have his moment, and truly a moment it was. And then the press conference following it was amazing, very emotional. I would highly recommend going to watch that. But this was truly an epic moment for him, his family, and even the Green Bay Packers. Just electric. It was so awesome. So I hope this kid really and it makes a splash here in Green Bay. He as a player, he gets really good pressure. He has lots of playing time under his belt. I think he's a total Packers type again, and super versatile. But Baron Sorrell, Ren, he is probably an edge rusher, right? Is that right?
Facts, Tay. You're spitting facts. Yep.
So he's going to rush the quarterback. There's some question maybe about the next pick, whether he's going to be inside or outside linebacker or off ball linebacker or not. But Baron Sorrell, great pick. He's 6'3", 256. He's 22 years old. His 40-yard dash was 4.68. Pretty fast for a linebacker. His sack total was 15.5 sacks. So this guy is great, and I think he's going to be great here in Green Bay.
Tay, you just love the whole young man's demeanor. He wanted to be there. He had his whole family here. He wanted to experience a draft and actually get drafted, and knew if he was here for that, Roger Goodell would come out and he would have that moment. And he got to have that moment with the hometown team selecting him. Yeah. And then not only walk out, hit the fans, but then walk out to that center stage where the national anthem was played, like I talked about earlier, and get them into those Go Pack Go chants, Tay. And you looked out, that crowd in the bright sunshine at noon at Lambeau. Finally, the weather had broke, the sun was out. He's got 200,000 people there with him chanting "Go Pack Go." What a moment for that young man! It's incredible. But yes, Tay, 6'3", 256, 9.31 RAS. Remember what I said last week, Tay? It doesn't matter. It does matter. Pure edge, great hand usage. So a lot of these guys come out really, really raw, Tay, and you just expect the physical talents will get them to be a good pass rusher, and that's what you hope for with a lot of these picks in the first, second round. But he's actually good at it. He knows how to use his hands, where to put them on guys, how to move them back. Great motor, great speed. Led Texas in pressures. We're talking the best, probably the best. I know we're in Big Ten country, but the best conference in college football in the SEC. Led them pressures. He was amazing at the Senior Bowl. And we know the Packers, they love themselves some Senior Bowl players. He's just a strong guy. He knows how to use his leverage really, really well. I expect him to compete for snaps as that, third, fourth, fifth guy right away in the Packers edge room, and that's what he's going to be. He's going to be an edge rusher, and I think they're going to see some good things come from him. When we know, speaking of more free agents, JJ Enagbari coming up, Brenton Cox. So you want to add a guy like this to the room, high character guy, great motor, and again, has actually a skill set to pass rush and knows how to do it. So to me, Tay, honestly, my favorite pick of this year's NFL draft for the Green Bay Packers.
Nice. Okay. Love to hear that. Oh, the next pick we had in the draft, that was round 5, pick 23, was Colin Oliver. He is also listed as edge, but I'm not quite sure that that's where he'll end up. Maybe he's 6'2", 240, only 22 years old. His 40-yard dash was 4.56, so it's kind of a speed demon. I don't know where he'll end up, but he could play and probably will play a ton of special teams when he makes the roster, which is fine. And I think they will have no problem finding a good spot for him. I don't know a lot about this guy, Ren, but I would guess that he's behind a Baron Sorrell for a starting edge position, but we'll see in his production, I guess.
Tay, Colin's a really interesting player. He's not a typical Packer type. He's way undersized as an edge rusher or pass rusher in general, or as a pass rush specialist, which is probably the best thing to call him. Because really, if he's going to do that, it's going to be on third down as a situational pass rusher when they have, the quarterback, 3rd and 8 behind the sticks, and they want to send some extra looks at. That's where you're going to see Colin Oliver outside of special teams, obviously. He missed most of the last season with a broken foot, but hey, in 43 games, the couple years before that, he had 23 and a half sacks and 42 tackles for loss, Tay. So you talk about the speed. He's just an animal, just crazy flying around this, just with the juice that you can't match. That's just his motor. He's running with that at all times. But likely you see him more as that earning some snaps, hopefully down the road in inside linebacker or that off-ball linebacker piece, Tay, where again you can, yeah, he's inside occasionally, but then you set him ready, and unleash him on third down to have a little fun with it. But I would say if he projects long term with the Packers, it'd be more at inside linebacker with that situational piece.
Round 6, pick 22, we finally get a D tackle, which I guess you and I both thought was going to be picked way earlier than round 6 in this draft. We kind of felt you were kind of hoping for not an immediate replacement, but a Clark replacement in this draft. I don't know if Warren Brinson out of Georgia will be that, but that's kind of what you were hoping for a while on days 1 and 2 that we'd pick on up. But I guess we kind of knew the D tackle position was deep in this draft, and they kept not taking one. So it's like, okay, they'll take one, but maybe that position wasn't as strong on the board as they got to their pick as they thought. So they just kind of kept passing on it. But Warren Brinson, height, 6'5", he's 315. He's only 23 years old. He's out of Georgia, so he joins a lot of Bulldogs here on the team already. I don't have a lot about this guy, but I just think that he is just another defensive tackle body, and they needed one.
And that's about where you hit the nail right on the head, Tay. 6'5", 315, 509, 40-yard for a big man. That is impressive. That's why he's got a 9.1 RAS, Tay. Did they take another high-end, relative athletic score lineman? Sure. And then guess what? As a UDFA, they bring in his teammate right next to him. Both guys can play the nose, Tay, so you can slide him into the center of that D. That's Nazir Stackhouse, who only had a 6.06, but a lot of people would say they had him higher rated, should have been drafted ahead of Warren Brinson. So you have those two guys who played, and I really think, Tay, your TJ Slayton, Turturell Slayton replacement comes out of one of those two guys, as others have said. One of these two guys, they're going to battle it out with their old teammate Devontae Wyatt, watching him there, just for some of those snaps. And I think it's just going to breed some great competition from those two guys, and it's going to be fun to watch. So somebody's going to win it, and I think based on that hustle, the youngness of it, they're not going to miss TJ Slayton as a result. I think they did well by doing those two things with both these Georgia boys on the team come training camp.
Yeah, and I think Brinson and maybe Stackhouse was on those championship teams a few years back. So they were a part of those teams, and you got to love that.
Pure winners, man. They carry the
winners.
G, Tay. They carry the G,
Yep. They've carried the G from college to the pros now. So hopefully, some of that just ability to win and know what winning's like rubs off immediately, and they can compete for that for those roster spots. I love that. Let's move on. We got round 7, finally, the last round of the draft. I think this was pick 21. I think overall was like 237. We have Micah Robinson out of Tulane, cornerback, 5'11", 185. He's 23 years old. His 40-yard dash was 4.42, which is pretty good. I'm glad they took a CB. This is a position I thought they were going to pick way earlier in the draft, maybe even in rounds 2, maybe even 3, but it kept falling again, just like the D tackle. And so maybe that indicates what the Packers are thinking about their roster right now. I mean, you look at who we have on the roster. Jair Alexander is still there. We'll circle back to him. Isaiah Dunn, Kamal Hayden, Caleb Hayes, Nate Hobbs, and Kalen King, and Keyshawn Nixon. So Nate Hobbs, free agent, going to make it. Nixon, obviously, he's going to play. And then Jair, who can play when he's healthy. The other guys are kind of like, first, second-year draft picks that we've had and guys we picked up. So nothing of note, I don't think. And so when you look past the first 2, including Jair, I think it dropped. I mean, Nixon's great, but I just don't want to rely on him as an outside corner, which he desperately wants to be his own CB1. but I don't think he's there yet. I was a little disappointed with him in his coverage last year. But after the first three, I think it drops off significantly. So to pick up a guy to kind of challenge those people is something that needed to be done. Now, will Micah Robinson make the team and be a stud and kick out those other guys? I don't know yet, but he's got a lot of playing time under his belt. He's kind of reminds me of a Valentine type of player, and that's who's on the list that I'm missing is Valentine. I didn't say him after Keyshawn Nixon, so I apologize for that. But Carrington Valentine. So maybe after the last four. So maybe the Packers looked at that and said, we're good, and maybe that's indicating of Jair Alexander. So where are you at with Jair? Even when you read headlines today, as in like, well, they only took one cornerback in the draft. They're probably pretty good. They're expecting Jair to play, but we're still maybe going to trade him. Is what the word is on the street, Ren.
Yeah, Tay, I mean, all sources say Jair's still gone. Per Tom Silverstein, there was a report that potential trade partner during the draft was willing to take on Jair, but unfortunately, Jair and his agent would not take a restructure of that deal. So that deal inevitably fell through. He is participating in the offseason program, but he has 700,000 reasons to do so. As a result, though, if he were to be injured, the Packers would owe him money. So that's the thing where, do you get him into an offseason program where you're doing OTAs and then mini camps, and now he can get hurt, and now you owe him $14 million, which tells you inevitably they're going to move him if they can say. If not, they got to come to some agreement and come to it pretty shortly. But you would have to think that Jair is not in their plans. It doesn't sound like he is. Brian was extremely non-committal about it, to the point of it just sounds like they're biding their time until they can find a way to do it. Inevitably, they may still release Jair. Going back to Micah, he's a room filler outer. Say that's about it. Undersized guy, 6.77 RAS. Obviously, a quick guy. You hope he can play some special teams. You hope like Corey Ballantyne or Robert Rochelle, a couple guys on the roster last couple of years. He can fill out one of those spots. Those two guys are no longer with the football team. That's really the extent where I see Micah Robinson making any impact on the 2025 Green Bay Packers at all.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely the position on the Packers most, intriguing.
Ignored. They ignored it last year,
yeah.
Tay. We were like, Kalen King, remember? They got him in the 7th round. You're like, oh, I guess they finally did something this year too. So maybe they're like, because I told you I had CB, PTSD. Maybe they do too, because they've taken them too high and it's failed. Because when you look at Brian's high-end cornerback picks the last, 7 seasons, none of them worked out really outside of Jair. And even with the extracurriculars here now, it's not working out. So, yeah, maybe just take a pause, take a break, get back to it in the future, and start drafting them. And maybe that's what they needed to do.
Yeah, right. I know everyone was like, not the first pick of the draft, like not at 23 overall.
I wasn't.
Quarterback.
You wanted Will Johnson, but I wasn't.
I did. Screw it. But like, maybe this will work out. Maybe we just don't know. But it's still like, it's a huge question mark. But maybe the only thing that can make sense to me is they address the pass rush entity of this. At least they put pressure on Van Ness and I guess Gary. Gary's productive. We all love Gary. But maybe just Van Ness and his Goody's confidence and Matt's confidence in him might be, might come to fruition, and we might be like, oh, that's why. But they went and grabbed, 2 outside rushers in this draft, and maybe that's what they need.
1.5, maybe.
Yeah, 1.5.
Baron Sorrell will be more than a situational. He'll have to work into a rotation, but then Oliver, really your situational pass rusher. And you probably won't see that till, they'll bring him along slow. Second half of the season, maybe they start getting creative with a little Colin Oliver, but you got to expect a lot more special teams kind of stuff up front.
Maybe the only thing that makes sense to me is if they said to themselves, we're going to get to the quarterback this year. then we don't have to put and address the huge assets and bolstering the CB position, because we'll get to the quarterback sooner, and then those guys will have their lives a lot easier when there's not much time to cover wide receivers. So we'll see how it shakes out, but I don't know. But then that brings us to, well, obviously I don't want to super skip them, but obviously John Williams was the last 7th round pick at 34. I think it was 250 overall.
Right. We touched base with him and Belton and how they're readdressing that room. So, I mean, again, I would say that pick late was a solid pick based on the fact that he really has the ability to play left tackle. And when you get somebody in the 7th round that can actually do that and potentially project over time to hit one of your tackle spots and also play guard and good in pass pro already with a very high athletic score. I mean, hey, that you did pretty well with your last 7th round pick real late.
And then, as every team does, right after the draft is over with, they immediately contact whoever they want to and offer them contracts. They sign them as undrafted free agents, and that happened. I compiled a list I could. It's maybe I'm missing one or two, but I've got at least a bunch up here that we did. 2 running backs, Amar Johnson, Jalen White. You got a couple guards, Tyler Cooper, Brant Banks, a safety, Jonathan Baldwin, another old lineman, J.J. Lippe, 2 DBs, Tyron Herring and Bugs Brown. Linebacker, Jamin Dumas Johnson, D tackle, like you mentioned before, Nazir Stackhouse, Georgia Bulldog, and then another wide receiver, Julian Fleming. I mean, there might be more. I might have missed some here, but they fill that out. And these are some guys that the Packers liked, and they probably were on their board, but they just didn't get to them. And then they were available. They weren't drafted. So Packers swooped in, offered them a contract, and now a lot of these guys will end up maybe on the roster, but most likely on the practice squad. Camp bodies. They need to get people in here.
Well, push the guys we have on the roster forward. A lot of people think highly of Johnson, the linebacker, and I like Bugs too. He's just a completely crazy athlete. You look at him; he's ripped up. So. There'll be a couple of fun UDFAs to watch, certainly, come training camp.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. You point to another couple there, along with Stackhouse, to compete with Brinson.
And as history tells us, Ren, usually one undrafted free agent makes the team now, whether it's from this list or someone they pick up, through the training camp. Someone usually makes the list or makes the roster. Yep.
Every year, at least.
So that's great. I didn't put it on here, but I saw somewhere they were inviting a quarterback to come to some OTA.
Canadian,
and it's like
quarterback. That's all I know. To I think rookie mini camp he's coming to. Tay.
Yeah, he's like invited. Why don't you come over here? And it's like I'm not signed.
Hey, it's cool. I mean, if you were invited to Packer camp, we know you can't. You can't throw with either hand, but you'd do it if you could.
Brian, is that you? No, I'm not coming, Brian. Don't quit calling me.
So.
All right, Ren. Well, I think that overall, I love this draft. I think they addressed needs. Maybe it wasn't the quite order that I thought it was going to be. Maybe some of the positions were addressed later in the draft than maybe I thought they would be addressed earlier. But overall, I love this. Great Packer type players, positions of need. And I don't know. I think this future-proofs some of these positions. As we said, gives competition across the board, which is always nice. You always need that. Push these guys. And I think the wide receiver and the edge room to rush the quarterback really needed a push. And maybe this is what helps, those two positions on opposite sides of the ball get more improvement than last year. And, when you look at I always feel like the wide receivers we have are still young. I feel like we just got them, right? We just, got these guys. But these guys have been in the league for, 3-4 years. And it's and I had to tell myself, it's okay to turn these guys over. Like, yeah, they've been here for 3 years. Like, what? Okay, it's not working or it might not be working. Let's get some other guys in here. That's what you have the draft for. So I'm okay, like churning out these guys and adding more people, and the other ones just get pushed out because it's okay. And I got to tell
Yeah,
myself
you
that,
only
like,
hey you, and honestly, we loved him. He was a great blocker, but you only need Alan Lazard for 5 years. That's it. Sometimes these guys
yeah,
they hit their spot, and you move on with younger versions of them, or even better younger versions of them. There's nothing wrong
yep.
with it.
But Brian's doing his job. He's getting new guys in with the draft, getting new guys in with undrafted free agents, and other just free agents in general. Like, that's his job, to push this team forward, to create competition on the roster, and to just keep getting the team better. And so, this is okay. Like, if you're worried, oh, we got too many receivers now, too many young receivers. No, this is good. This is good, healthy competition for the guys that are here now, and a lot of those guys are future's uncertain with the Packers, especially given the health issues. So this is okay. I kind of had to tell myself that after the draft. I'm like, no, this is all right. This is what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to kind of, in and out, and try to get the best people around. And like you said, I think during the draft, some conversation, you were telling me the Packers always reward good players. They give them a second contract when they're good, and this is how they find out.
Always.
So, yeah.
100%. And competition always breeds nothing but the best in everybody else. So it brings rises the cream to the top, I should say, and and the other guys will fall out, and that's exactly what you want to find out. Unfortunately, Tay, with any draft, you can't hit all the positions you really wanted to with the ways you'd like to every year. There's going to be places you couldn't. This year, obviously, you can point to the cornerback position, maybe the D line, maybe even a little bit of the edge room. But the reality is they bolstered the wide receiver room, the offensive line room. I didn't think they did too bad with giving yourselves, at least in the short term, some additional, situational edge in the room, and they'll have to figure the rest out. I mean, that's why they brought in DeMarcus Covington to, work these edge rushers around and the linebacker play and improve it all around. So they believe in that. We saw what Hapley did with the defense last year. It was fantastic. So I really like to call it the juice and power draft. They want to play faster and more physical. And, for years, I think we've looked at this team a little bit, at least from my lens, like they are a little kind of soft. When it comes down to being, bullies in the run game or bullies in just the offensive line, we're going to move you game. When it comes to, wide receivers, they just want to be physical today. They want to out physical you across the football. And when you play the Green Bay Packers, they don't want to think, oh, we just punch them in the mouth, they might go away. They want to be, we're going to punch you in the mouth and you're going to go away. You're starting to see that change a little bit. You really are. I think that is kind of the vision they have with that juice and power. Like, come stop it, because we're going to have a hell of a lot of fun with it.
I would overall give this draft a grade A. I don't know if it was an A plus. It's definitely not an A minus. I would give this an A. It's probably not a plus because I still feel like maybe that tackle, although he was a great player, in that second round they could have went for a defensive stud. I think that was a guarantee. I still think that.
A guy like Trey Amos, he was there. We were wondering, it was interesting when it happened as we sat in the theater. Yeah. Hard to say, Tay. I mean, you still can't hate it. You have to, let it play out because it's happened and it is what it is. So,
well, what's your immediate grade? Come on. Everyone wants to know.
I've seen the grades already roll out from, all sorts of different venues. I've seen it as good as an A minus, as worse as a C minus. So I think it's somewhere the truth lies in between. It's hard to grade any draft, right after it happened. You know that. You can't do it. People talk about this all the time. Say, yeah, you did.
Don't be afraid.
You could be totally wrong.
Afraid.
I think because of the wide receiver at the front of the draft, because of what we experienced, it was a B plus draft because it gave them some fun things to talk about, and it gave us things we'll talk about the rest of our lives. So I'll leave it there with, hey, we feel damn good about it, but let's not be over the moon.
Very, very, very well. Well, Ren, we had a great experience up at the NFL draft in Green Bay this year. One to remember for all time. One of my all time favorite experiences, I think, so far as a Packer fan since birth. So that was truly amazing. I kind of put out on social media, and I think I'll probably post it to X tonight. I put a little montage together of our experience from our perspective. A lot of me just kind of filming from where we were in our perspective and what was happening during the draft and what we saw. So go check that out. If you're already following us on social medias, you're probably already seeing that: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. But if you're not, go check it out. You can kind of see where our perspective was during the draft. And of course, always love to get new followers and subscribers. And if you're just joining us, thank you. And if you've been with us for years, we really, really appreciate it. We love doing this. We have lots of fun. We're going to talk about this anyway, so let's put it out on the airwaves. If you got any questions, comments, obviously use social media, but if you want to send us a direct message, our email is always available, info@packeruniverse.com, which leads me to say we do have a website, packeruniverse.com. Go check it out. Always post videos and our podcast feed there. So I just really appreciate all the support and love we've gotten over the years for doing this project here, Ren. Thank you very much. I had a great time at the draft, so I want to say thanks to you personally. That was a blast, and I seriously can't wait till it comes back to Green Bay again.
Tay, I love doing this with you. I think I had maybe a couple love you man moments, in the draft theater with you. It was, it was pretty great that we got to do that together. And, that's what life's all about, is experiencing good things with good people. And hey, man, until episode 313, Tay, on the pup list.